you for tuning in to Roll Call. The movie you selected is What to Expect When You're Expecting.
Hey everyone, welcome to Roll Call. The two childless millennials. Okay. Hey, hey everyone, welcome to Roll Call, the show where two childless millennials, whom possibly after this episode, forever two childless millennials, will be gushing over movies and follow an actor's journey from their early years through their blockbuster hit.
Yes, because we still miss Blockbuster.
Yeah, truly, I don't know what I should have expected when we expected Blockbuster to close its doors over so many years ago, but I like to think we've adapted since then.
I do too, I really do. HBO Max is slowly becoming my favorite streaming service. So
Truly.
Props to that. What's up, everyone? I'm Bria, and honestly, I did not expect what I got in this movie. It was not what I expected it to be at all, especially after watching
The Backup Plan.
Backup Plan.
Already forgot it. It's okay, me too. I've completely wiped it from my memory. Except for that cute background actor who was just acting his heart out but never had a single line, standing by the goat cheese and just had to pretend like everything was okay at the farmer's market.
We gotta find him on IMDb.
We should
call him out.
Oh gosh. All right. Hey everyone. I'm Simone. I'd like to preface this episode by stating the obvious. Bria and I are not mothers. We are cool wine aunts. And we are not here to judge or pretend like we know anything firsthand about pregnancy or parenthood. We are only here to talk about this movie, the acting choices, and more importantly, our one and only Miss Jennifer Lopez.
Damn, that was kind of serious. Like a disclaimer. I mean, because we just, in the timeline of things, we are recording this now, but enough just was released to the masses. The mass of 19 people who listen to us. So shout out to you people. We love you. But in that, we did a disclaimer before the episode. So this felt very disclaimery. So.
Well, I don't know. I was thinking about a previous question you asked. Maybe it was with Angel Eyes, and you would ask, like, is the term childless millennials, do you think that that's offensive? And we talked just for a brief moment about it, how millennials who have like chosen cognizantly to not have children, kind of wear it as a badge, but I think that's just something that we've all learned about getting older, about that, it is literally none of our businesses what other people choose to do with their bodies, because we certainly don't know what everyone's going through when it comes to their choice of having children and not having children. And as you all will learn, this is the fucking movie that broke me. And so Bria, when we're editing this episode, is going to cleverly figure out where to put in these several pieces of audio footage of me crying, not once, not twice, but 3 times during this movie, which made me realize that, like, we all go through things of, you just never know what someone's going through,
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I feel like that even though I don't have children. What am I saying? No, I feel like that not having kids, that I do not pretend to understand what pregnant women go through, all that stuff. I would like a little more grace extended our way, and I think that's why we say that, is because we embrace not having children and that
definitely
choice. And I think most people don't think it's really a choice still. I think our generation is, okay with it. But I think older generations definitely will still be like, you having kids? Oh, you'll meet somebody, or you'll change your mind, or, once you settle down, or it's like, no, I've thought about this.
Yeah. Or I've thought about this and I want it, but it's not in the cards for me,
Yes.
So it's just one of the, like, I don't know what it was about this movie, Bria, but I'm already finding myself getting emotional about it.
Oh,
And
man.
I don't
I'm
know if
interested to hear about your feelings.
I think it's just because I've had a really emotional day, and yeah,
I'm naming this Hell Week 2021. Mark it down in history, future Bria, when you listen to this episode. This week has been hell.
This was Hell Week, August
Yes.
2021 for sure.
But the reason why we are talking about babies and pregnancy and all this stuff, choices and whatnot, is today's episode we're talking about Jennifer Lopez in the 2012 romantic comedy What to Expect When You're Expecting. So, shall we take a trip back to May 2012?
Please, let's go back to those simpler times. Or non-simpler times. I don't know. I didn't do the research for this one because we had a little whoopsie-doopsie, and I thought that I was recording like box office numbers and movie reviews, and Bria was doing pop culture, and she had the opposite spectrum. So in between my little emergency meeting, in between recordings, we started recording a few hours ago, and I had to stop, and we've since then switched the game plan. So all right, Bria, fill me in. What's happening May 2012?
Well, I'm gonna switch around real quick because there were some serious things going on in 2012.
Okay.
I'll fatten you up real quick, and then we'll go light.
Dang
and
it.
fun.
Okay.
So of course, 2012, Obama gets reelected, which
Woo
is
woo!
like,
4 more years. 4 more years.
which is like a good thing in my book. But you know, election years are always like tense and like. And this was the first election I could vote in when he got elected the first time I was in high school. So this was my first presidential vote. So
I forgot about that. That's exciting.
Yeah, so fun. And then in some more serious news, more serious than a presidential election, we get a major moment in the Black Lives Matter movement in Trayvon Martin getting murdered. And that was just, I mean, last year was crazy with Black Lives Matter. It's always crazy because it's just ridiculous. But this was such a pivotal, this and Mike Brown were such pivotal moments of like this era of Black movements and civil rights, like being like, wow, this stuff is still happening, and why. In other news as well, very serious, we have the Occupy Wall Street movement, which is like,
we are the 99%.
Yes, which is like still very relevant, but I think this was like a lot of our generation's like first foray into political like protest and, you know, feeling very passionate about something, a la all the people we saw in the 60s doing stuff. This was like our chance to be like, yeah, down with the 1%. So
yes, I remember. So Bria and I both graduated from a private college, St. Mary's College of California in Moraga, and it's a gorgeous school. You know, I know we're both very proud of our educational backgrounds and stuff.
Gales.
Go Gales! And also that's like how we met. Okay, anyways, I'm not getting emotional about it. Okay, but I remember, so this was like the year that I was getting ready to graduate college, and this was huge. And I remember St. Mary's doing like a sit-in demonstration on like the campus lawns and stuff, and people protesting. And I just remember like very aggressively rolling my eyes because Moraga, for those who don't know, Moraga, California is an extremely privileged area, and the majority of people who go to St. Mary's either are like Bria and I, who went into student loans and had to work really hard to like still in debt and like work to get into the school, or mummies and daddies like use their trust fund to pay for them. So a lot of the students who sat in on we are the 99% and their little like trust fund babies sitting down on the lawn, it was just very like, oh, that's so cute. Good for you, you little protester.
I was gonna say I don't remember that, but I do because I was a commuter and not being on campus. Every day you go to St. Mary's, you have to drive down this beautiful like long driveway with trees, but there's a big lawn right in front and there's a church behind it, and so you get to see it every day. And like you see people like with their little makeshift tents and stuff, and you're just like, what is going on? Like and you're like, oh, okay, okay. Let me find parking.
Let me find parking. And yeah, it was just so funny because, I mean, listen, it's sweet and I love the incentive of people want to like protest about it and to find their voice and like learn more about the plight, the fight, whatever you want to call it. But then it's just funny because you get to like leave your little sit-in tent at the end of the day and go back to your cute little apartment that your parents are paying for, and you get to like eat your little Trader Joe's dinner and be like, what a day that was. That was crazy.
Yeah, and I think too, for me at least, like being at St. Mary's, we're not very far from big Bay Area cities.
Yeah.
Like if you really wanted to, they could have gone to Berkeley, which is a huge historical like centerpiece of protest and stuff.
Oh, but Berkeley's too scary. I don't know.
Yeah, they could have gone to Oakland. They could have gone to San Francisco.
No. Oakland's too spicy.
But like there are huge centers of protest in the Bay Area that are very accessible from Moraga, La Marinda to say. But yes, it's a very affluent area. People like Steph Curry and Buster Posey have lived in that area, and God knows who else. But yeah, it's just kind of like, oh, all right, well, have fun.
Well, okay, have fun. Yeah, obviously, y'all, I say that with tongue in cheek about Oakland and Berkeley being too spicy. That was just more making fun of the very rich, affluent white kids who feel like they're making a difference by doing a sit-in protest at their very rich school that their mummies and daddies paid for them to be at. Anyways, we're moving on. What's the next thing that's happening in 2012?
Another big spicy thing was Hurricane Sandy.
Oh, shit.
Fucked the whole East Coast up. Like,
sure did.
And now it's just like the norm. Like we're just like, Brooklyn's or the Bronx is flooded this year. Oh wow, that's crazy. People are like swimming to get to the subway. It's just become so like California's on fire right now again. Like
what's new? What's new? Every year we get a new fire.
But yeah, so those are the kind of spicy things in 2012. And then we have a lot of viral stuff. Obviously, 2012 was also an Olympic year, so we have the rise of Gabby Douglas, a la Simone Biles.
We love you, Simone. I'm getting emotional again.
Yes, but
we
Gabby
love
Douglas,
you, Simone, and Gabby Douglas. Yeah, we
Gabby
love
Douglas
that
definitely
team so much
paved the way. So the Fierce Five, comprised of Gabby Douglas, Michaela Maroney, Allie Reisman, Kayla Ross, Jordan Weber, are at the Olympics. They win gold.
Michaela Maroney's the one that has the viral face, like the
which I was going to bring up.
Oh, yes. Okay, sorry.
No, that's fine. She definitely was memed everywhere where she made the the weird,
she was like waiting for her score face afterwards, like like all perfectionists know that face very well.
Like what now? Okay. So also, this time is like, obviously the rise of social media means the rise of memes. So that was memed heavily once that happened, and people put her in various scenarios and situations. She would make that face. Like she has a picture with President Obama where they're both doing the face. So that became like her signature. In movie news, we have Twilight ending and the beginning of the Hunger Games. So just like Harry Potter ends, Twilight's just starting,
when one door closes, another one opens.
Yes. Midnight premieres and whatnot. I think that's one.
Oh, did you and I go to a Twilight?
I think we did. No, not Twilight. I mean Hunger Games.
Oh yeah. No, we've been to Hunger Games together for sure.
But also, we have the Robston cheating scandal where Kristen Stewart got caught smooching the director from Snow White and the Huntsman.
Yes.
And everyone was pissed off at her for breaking poor Rob Patterson's heart. They stayed together for a while, but then eventually split up.
I like to think that their whole relationship, though, was such a farce. I think they did it out of courtesy for fan service. And I think that personally, I mean, listen, I don't know anything. Here's my speculation. You can delete or cut, take whatever you want with this. But my personal speculation is that they trauma bonded together a lot over these roles and their fast gained celebrity. Over these movies, it's very obvious that both K-Stu and R-Pat never gave a shit about Twilight or their characters, but they were like, this is a great paycheck and it's going to clearly pave the way. Like, Robert Pattinson died in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire after movie 4, so he needs another series to boot off of. So Twilight definitely gave him a great stepping stone. Same with Kristen Stewart. I don't think the two of them were ever invested in their characters. I think they were invested in each other very much as friends, but I don't think that they ever really like loved each other in a romantic way. It was almost like just, hey, let's do this for the fan service because they know it's gonna bode well for their jobs. That's just me though.
Yeah, I don't know, because Hello Teffy on TikTok, one of my favorite TikTokers, she did a series on them, as she did with Bennifer, and the one thing that I will say is that I don't know if, again, this could have been like ironic for them, but they were very like, we are, but we won't say it about their relationship. So part of me is like, well, maybe they were like really into each other and they didn't want all the attention on them instead of like the movie and stuff. But then again, I feel like just fucking say it. Like, we all like, people are inquiring, people see you guys being touchy-feely and shit. Like,
yes. Or it's like or it could be opposite of what my speculation is, where it's like Bennifer, where they sincerely are into each other, but the paparazzi and the media is what's driving them apart, and it's like impossible for them to be together.
Yeah. Oh, shit. We'll never know.
Golly, we will never know. But you know what? All Twilight movies are now, as of right now, who knows what it will be when this episode's released, but they're all streaming on Netflix. So if you need a reason to smile, just...
or to cringe. That's my feelings on Twilight.
Yeah. That's my background. Like, I just need something to decompress while I'm grading stuff.
Well, on that note, also Gossip Girl. Gossip Girl ends.
XOXO, baby.
Yes, Gossip Girl ends in 2012, which is ironic because, like many things on this show, has now been rebooted in 2021. Yep. I had an extensive bitch sesh with Simone about how I feel about the new Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Basically hating it, but hate watching it. So I'm still going to watch it. But
of course.
Yeah.
You're going to watch it, but you're not going to like it.
Oh, no.
But you got to because it's your civic duty.
Well, I also need to rewatch the original because I started to and I was like, damn, I don't really remember any of this.
Did you read the books?
No, I did not. I only watched Gossip Girl really because Josh Schwartz, who made the OC, was at the head of Gossip Girl. And so I was like, oh, shit, he has another show. I'm going to support it. And I watched it. I stopped watching it once it was like they just kept dating amongst each other. I was just like, this is stupid.
It's incestuous, the group,
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm out. So I didn't even get to see like the end of Gossip Girl and the big like reveal of, by now, if you don't know that Dan Humphrey was Gossip Girl, then sorry to you. But yeah, Gossip Girl ends. And also in child news, we have the emergence of young queen herself. Blue Ivy Carter is born in 2012.
That queen, yes. Yay, Blue Ivy. Who's
Beyonce? Who? But yeah, that was big for me because Beyonce is my girl. So I remember watching the VMAs and when she did the reveal, and then, well, actually prior to that, when she did the red carpet, and I was like, is she pregnant? Like, and then she did the reveal.
Is this the outfit where where it's like very like where it's like very golden?
It's very it's like a orange on the red carpet. It's like a orange drapey
Yes.
kind of dress. So
Yes.
you can't really tell, but you're
Okay.
like, something looks different. And then on the performance, she did
that this like very iconic thing where when she moves the dress aside, we're like, brr!
Yeah, she's in like a sparkly sequence like tuxedo thing, and she opens the jacket and then like rubs her belly, and then of course they pan to Jay-Z, who at the time was promoting Watch the Throne with Kanye, so him and Kanye are next to each other, and Kanye's like, oh man. So what a time. What a time. Anyways, other famous children. Here comes Honey Boo Boo.
Oh,
Swept
Jesus.
the nation. So Jersey Shore ends, and Here Comes Honey Boo Boo is the trashy replacement that we get, which is like, bring Jersey Shore back. Like,
yeah.
And in other, like, what the fuck were we thinking news? Popular viral songs. Gangnam Style.
Oh, yeah. That was huge.
Yeah, that song, that video, one of the most watched videos on
Psy,
YouTube.
P-S-Y, yes. Psy, yeah.
Yes, one of the most watched videos on YouTube at the time. Surpassed Justin Bieber, who's Mr. Viral Sensation videos. Also, in relation to Justin Bieber, I didn't know this, but Call Me Maybe became popular because him and Selena Gomez, who he was dating at the time, and their friends, they lip synced to it because they liked the song, or he liked the song. And because of their video, of course, all the little believers in the world were like, oh my God, I fucking love this song. And it just took off.
Yeah.
I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch when this happened.
Oh my God, I always forget that you worked at Abercrombie.
I do too. It's like a weird... Like, I mean, I love preppy stuff. I think that style is just iconic, but man, what a time. Like, but that song was on one of our playlists at one point, so every couple hours or however long that cycled through, like, Call Me Maybe would come in, and like kids in the mall would just like, I remember kids walking by and stopping and like coming in because of the song, and their parents like, what are you doing? Like, and they're just like jamming to Call Me Maybe. So it was huge. Also huge, One Direction.
Oh, okay.
One Direction comes onto the scene in 2012. And
yes. So we both grew up in the era of boy bands, and I always used to joke like I am just like 10 years too late with One Direction. That if One Direction came onto the scene during like BSB NSYNC, I truly think they could have given them a run for their money. Although
I don't.
No,
because
okay.
They don't dance.
That's what I was gonna say. My biggest issue with One Direction is that looks wise, I feel like everyone is split very equally, whereas NSYNC, hold on, just hear me out.
No, I'm just thinking. I'm like trying to picture.
So you have like NSYNC and BSB fans, right? And with NSYNC, your two most populars are going to be JC and Justin Timberlake. I'm so sorry, Chris Kirkpatrick, Lance, and Joey. Like, you know who you are, and you know where your place lies. But that doesn't mean that we don't care about you as a singer and as a performer. And then with Backstreet Boys, it was between Nick and Brian, and maybe a third tie with AJ, while Howie and Kevin kind of took a little bit. Kevin always was the fan service for the moms. My mom fucking loves Kevin, okay? Let me just say. Like,
I'm sure your Kevin is like, yeah, she does.
He's sitting in the other room like, that's nice. But but with One Direction, my biggest beef with them is that they didn't dance. But to be fair, they're also very curated. They won Britain's Got Talent or something?
No, they didn't win. They were on, I think, X Factor, and they all auditioned but didn't really make it very far. And then because they were all like from that pool of talent, somehow got put together. Really, I'm not One Direction fan, so I don't know how I know.
So Simon Cowell liked them enough to take them under his wing, and he kind of like glamorize them and put them on the charts.
Spice, everything nice.
Yes.
Leave dancing out.
Yeah, leave dancing out. So anyways, I going back to what I said. I feel like I was 10 years too late with One Direction. I look at all of them. I clearly have my favorite, which is Harry Styles, because from the start he always had that really long shaggy hair, and that's always been my MO. But I think that they could have stood a chance, but my biggest beef with them is that they could have stood a chance, but they never learned to dance. And that's my issue, was that when you'd see them perform, whether it was live performances for MTV, VH1, or even their music videos, they just kind of like stood around doing arm movements. And just because you're cute and personable doesn't mean you have stage presence. BSB and NSYNC, 98 Degrees, all those other New Kids on the Block, they all put in their really hard work before you fuckers did, and they learned choreo, and they memorized all of that choreo for years and years and years and years to come, and all of that choreo is so iconic that we can go, everybody, like, bye, 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 we know the choreo. Where is your choreo, One Direction? Anyways, One Direction was okay as a band. I still feel like I'm 10 years too late, but I, from time to time, will put on their first 2 albums, which are, in my opinions, pretty good bops.
All right, in other music news, we had the iconic, one of my favorite statements, I still say it, YOLO, thanks to Mr. Jersey Drake himself, Champagne Poppy.
You only live once.
Yes, which, I mean, it's almost the end of the world again in 2012. You know, what was worse, Y2K or the Mayan calendar apocalypse? Like, this is our second go at, like, shit's hitting the fan. Like, so.
Exactly. And now that we're in 2021, some people felt like the Mayan calendars were switched. They're like, what if it wasn't 2012 and it was 2021? And so now some people are waiting on their tipsies and toesies.
I thought 2020 was, like, I didn't hear 2021. At this point, we're in a hellscape anyway, so
yeah,
just take us all out. That's my ideal way to die.
We're somewhere in Dante's Inferno. We're just trying to fucking figure it out, which circle of hell we're in at this point.
Yes. So I'm gonna wrap it up with 2 memes. I don't know if you have like the document open, but
I didn't look.
Okay, if you could scroll down.
Okay.
2 really popular memes at that time, which I felt like, oh my god, yes, this is iconic.
Oh, the attractive running man smiles at the camera. Girl who took the pictures now pregnant.
Yes, random guy running in some kind of marathon or something.
Yes, it was like, I forget what the meme was, but it was something called like
it's attractive, like something attractive guy, like random like, attractive guy.
Random attractive guy, like unfair random, like, because who looks that good running? God damn it. Yeah.
You know what? He looks like the guy in Bring It On, Jesse Ventura.
Oh yeah, the brother.
Like that. Yeah, he has that smile, like that toothy smile, grin thing going. If you keep scrolling, also another icon.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yes, Miss Sweet Brown herself. Ain't nobody got time for that. Lord Jesus, it's a fire. Like,
is that whistle go woo woo? Is it that one?
I don't think she said that one, but it was like when I think her apartment building or something caught on fire.
Right. Okay.
And they interviewed her.
Yeah.
And I know Black people feel some type of way sometimes when we get on the news and we're a little bit country, or if you want to say ghetto or whatever, but sometimes it just makes very entertaining like shit. Like who else says that because of this now? Like it's a moment in time.
Yes, ain't nobody got time for that. That was iconic and great.
So on that note, that is all the pop culture I have for you. Sorry if I didn't do enough music stuff for once, but I'm trying to spread it around.
We had a very music heavy episode last time, so I feel like we're doing okay.
Yes. So Simone, how did What to Expect When You're Expecting do at the box office?
All right. So this movie had a release of May 18th, 2012. It has an estimated budget of $40 million. Now, opening weekend, it's estimated by the closing of this weekend of May 20th, 2012, in both the US and Canada, it had grossed $10.5 million. But a total gross worldwide income of $84.3 million. So not too bad. So a budget of $40 million. It got about $10.5 million its opening weekend, which is pretty low. The overall domestic gross was 41 million, but the international gross was 84.4 million. So like in the movie theaters, probably didn't do so great, but post movie theater release, when it comes to DVD sales, online rentals, and things like that, it doubled plus added to its budget just a little bit.
Yes, which, okay, so earlier we thought we were doing opposite stuff, or I thought I was doing, we got confused. So I know what Lil Raj thinks. But there is one point where I'm just like, again, with the reviews and people's opinions, it's just like, what do you expect of a movie like this? Like, this isn't Fast and the Furious. This isn't the Hunger Games where people are going, like, even little mommy groups aren't like, we gotta go to the midnight showing of what to expect when it, like, no. Like, they're like, ooh, let's hit the matinee, have a babysitter, maybe. But, these types of movies, again, to me, live on TV and in rentals or streaming now, where, you see it on E, you see it on Lifetime or something, and, you watch it, and you're like, oh, this is cute, and...
Right. And the overall point of these movies is to hopefully bring some humor and light to a really life-changing moment in a lot of couples' times of when they get pregnant. This movie, What to Expect When You're Expecting, is based on the very famous, most popularly bought book by all couples. I know my sister and her husband have a copy of this, of What to Expect When You're Expecting, and this movie is it's a movie version based off the book.
Did James just watch the movie though? He's like,
I'm just taking notes, particularly on Jennifer Lopez. But I mean, this movie shows the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the tragedy of pregnancy.
Yes. So on that note, maybe that's my saying now, because I say it all the fucking time.
On that note,
yes, I noticed that. What did Lil Raj think? Tell the people, since I already...
Okay, so this is one where I disagree with Raj on giving it such a low rating. Right off the bat, my second note, besides that I said, I too, like Elizabeth Banks, will crush a glass of wine during watching this movie, because in the very beginning, she like drinks this whole glass of wine, and her movie husband's like, you crush that wine. I was like, bitch, me too, the fuck? You want to talk about iconic vine sounds? Like...
I say that all the time with Jessica, and like I totally forgot where I even stole it from. That's the beauty of memes and viral videos.
I love it. But my second bullet point was, I already know I'm going to like this movie. I've definitely seen it before, and I hope to come full circle by the end of recording this, because I've seen it before. I don't know why I've sought out to watch this. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I know I've seen this movie before, and so I will guess when I watched it and what for.
I love it.
Thank you. Amazing. Okay, so Lil Raj, round circle. Lil Raj gives this 2.5 stars, and he titles his review not so much. Bria, I'm gonna steal some of the lines that you had picked out already previously for this article.
Oh, cool.
But essentially, Lil Raj says, just what we needed. First, Friends with Kids 2 months ago about 3 couples who confront pregnancy, and now What to Expect When You're Expecting about 5 couples so much in sync that deliveries and adoption occur on the very same day. I'd rather see a movie about one couple treated in some depth than these round robins with editor workings up to a sweat to keep all the stories up in the air. So Little Raj, I mean, similarly to what I think, there, when we're going to get into the nitty gritty of Jennifer Lopez, I'm going to circle back to that thought. But essentially, this movie has a huge cast, and it follows 5 different families' pregnancies, whether they're planned or unexpected, and how these couples deal with the various aspects of being pregnant or seeking different options on how to become a family. And so Lil Raj, the majority of his 2.5 ratings comes from not so much the acting, but just so much of the fact that this movie follows 5 different plot lines that all work really, really hard to commingle with each other throughout the entire plot, rather than just focusing on maybe 1 or 2 stories, and giving them adequate airtime. That way it doesn't feel like 5 minutes for this couple, 5 minutes for this, and and then they all like magically come together at the end. Because as life knows, pregnancy is incredibly complicated and never predictable, and so there were many aspects of this movie, as I agree with Little Raj, that were a little predictable.
Yes, but I think that, like, okay, so my intro line was like, I did not know it, like, I didn't expect what I expected. Like, going into this movie, I thought it was just another, like, J-Lo and some guy having a baby, what to expect when you're expecting. I did not realize it was this huge ass ensemble cast, and I was like, like Cameron Diaz is in this?
Huge cast. Yeah, we'll get to that next. Huge cast.
So in light of that, like, I feel like, especially after the backup plan, I feel like the expansiveness of the cast and the stories, to me, help keep it fun and lighthearted. One, I don't think it was intended to be this, like, great in-depth piece on the complications of pregnancy and the unexpectedness of it.
No.
But I think it was, like, a fun, light way to be like, this shit's crazy, like, and you gotta make the best of it that you can most of the time. And I think having so many couples helps with that. Like, I think with the backup plan, you know, you get bogged, like, J-Lo's husband in this movie is very like, I don't know if I'm ready. A la, what's his face? Erase from my mind.
I noted that, baby. We will talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes,
but you know, it would, if it was just them in this movie, I probably would have hated this movie, and I would have hated that she went down this road again.
Agreed.
In a movie like this. But the balance of the varying natures of pregnancy and stuff like that helps be like, okay, this is only one perspective, and I only have to see this for so long.
Exactly.
And luckily for him, he does a hell of a better job coming around at the end. But
and
yeah,
he
like,
has a really good friend group who helps him get to that point.
And so I don't, again, it's like the expectation of critics or people, you know, reviewing these movies versus like the intentions of what this movie is supposed to be and where it's supposed to hit with audiences and stuff is vastly different. And it's like, get on the same page. Like, sorry, Lil Raj, you're in the wrong book on the wrong page. Like,
yeah. And to be fair, you know, he kind of catches himself, and you noted this too in your original notes, where he says like, all right, hold on, I'm being a little bit too snarky. He says that it's a good-hearted movie with some winning performances, but because of the fact that there's so many characters, including a boys' club of new dads, with this like girls group of moms trying to figure it out, that the plot kind of stalls and gridlocks at some point, which I both agree and kind of disagree with. I think this would be, if this had focused on one couple, whether albeit Jennifer Lopez and Rodrigo Santoro, or Cameron Diaz and Matthew Morrison, or Dennis Quaid and Brooklyn Decker, whoever, right? Like, it would be a completely different movie. It wouldn't necessarily be so much of a comedy, but the fact that we have these 5 different stories of couples experiencing births or pregnancies or becoming families in different various ways, sprinkled in with some like good supporting castmates and funny characters, that it's allowing itself to be a little bit more of a lighthearted comedy, despite some of the like heavier things that happen in the movie.
Yeah, I think that also the fact that they're all very loosely intertwined is interesting. I was like, oh shit, like that was interesting to me, but then I feel like that wasn't necessary. Like, it was cool. You're like, oh wait, that's how they know each other, and they don't. And And again, like he said, like the syncing up of them all being pregnant, all giving birth at the same time. I think that's really a movie thing. I don't know if it's like
That's
time
just
wise.
movie magic. Yeah.
I don't know if like time wise, like it's like exactly they're all going into or labor at the same time. But I think maybe if that wasn't an aspect of the movie, it might help with the whole cast, because it's like they're all connected but then they aren't, like they're not
Right.
all friends, they're
And
not
I
all supporting
like
each
how
other.
the movie, sorry,
no
I'm getting ahead of myself, but I like how the movie didn't make it a point of having it be so interconnected. Like there are sprinkles here and there with Jennifer Lopez's character, Holly is her name. She's like a famous photographer, but kind of does a lot of freelance work, and so she's photographed for many of these people who are in the line of cast work, and so like she knows them by acquaintance. And Anna Kendrick is cousins with Brooklyn Decker's character, and so they meet up at one point. And then Ben Falcone is the son of Dennis Quaid, and so Elizabeth Banks and Ben Falcone are kind of directly related to Dennis Quaid and Brooklyn Decker. So they all kind of coincide at some point, but I kind of like how the movie left it a little bit ambiguous as to like how their paths crossed, but it also didn't really matter that their paths crossed.
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge part of the plot.
No, yeah, I don't think I would have liked that as much, which, okay, so Lil Raj mentioned Friends with Kids, which I was like, oh, maybe I have time to watch that this morning. So I started watching it, and I was like, this movie is something I actually can relate to. It's like Adam Scott, I don't know the actress.
Oh, yeah.
But they're friends with a group of people, John Hamm, Kristen Wiig, Maya Rudolph, and I forget the guy, but he was the cop in Bridesmaid.
He's like Irish or Scottish or something.
Yeah.
Chris O'Dowd. Yeah.
So they're all friends, and some of them have kids, and Adam Scott and one chick doesn't. So they're slowly seeing their friends like lives get sucked into being parents and stuff, and dinner parties aren't as what they used to be, and all that kind of stuff, which like I'm like, oh, I could relate to that. All my friends have kids, but you adjust like as that change happens to them. And then eventually Adam Scott and the girl decide, you know what, why don't we just have a kid? Like, let's get out the way. We don't have to do the messy relationship stuff. We could just have a kid. We don't have to worry about getting a divorce possibly. We'll already be splitting it 50-50 and all this stuff. I stopped watching it because it just was less interesting to me. Like, but I could relate to that movie more. But having them all be friends, like, it just wasn't as intriguing as this movie to me, because it, like the journey of like bouncing from person to person, it's like, oh, it's like something new each time, and you don't have time to be like, ugh, let's get over it. Like,
yeah.
I feel like there's so much to talk about with this movie because there's so much going on. So let's get through Lil Raj. Like,
okay.
Any other point?
No, that's actually pretty much it. I think overall Lil Raj thinks that this is a fairly charming movie. It's just the fact it just felt a little too busy. He said, I grew weary of circling endlessly among the various stories. The actors are all good company, and I would have enjoyed seeing more of each role, something I suspect they would agree with me about. This movie is inspired by the bestseller by Heidi Murkoff. It's nonfiction, which is just as well. There's no room here for anything much more. So there's definitely aspects that I don't think I would agree with the star reading. But yeah, there were some times where I wish that it might have focused a little bit more on other characters, but I kind of had to think about that thought whenever it crept back in my mind when I thought about the backup plan and how much that is like definitely on. If when this season ends and we rate this movie, this one's going on the bottom, like backup plans on the bottom, no questions asked.
Yeah. So how many, I know you disagree with the rating, so how many pumps of butter would you give What to Expect when expecting?
I would give What to Expect, I would have almost given it 4, but I enjoyed it for what it was, and this might be my favorite.
And it fucked you up. It
And
broke
it
you.
fucked me up and it broke me. So yeah, I give this a good solid 3.5.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking 3.5. It made me laugh. I was pretty invested throughout the movie. I definitely, my suspension of disbelief, which is a big thing for me, was like totally.
Me too.
I wasn't questioning stuff.
Yeah.
A lot. So I really liked this movie. I think this was top notch. I do have a suggestion that probably would solve Lil Raj's Lil
Raj's. Okay, go for it. What is it?
Okay, we could do this now. I think that this actually had potential to be like a series of movies. Like, instead of cramming 5 different couples into one movie and trying to tell these various stories of pregnancy, and things can be different for different women and different couples, having 2 or 3 couples per movie and spreading it out over a couple movies. And maybe like one movie, you have Brooklyn Decker and Elizabeth Banks are pregnant, and Cameron Diaz, and you can still intertwine like the people so that it carries over into the next. And then you have Jennifer Lopez finally getting through with the adoption process, and then you have Anna Kendrick and Chase Crawford and their situation. And who else am I missing? No, that's the 5. So I just think that, like, it doesn't have to be that pairing of stuff, but like however that works, you're able, or like maybe Cameron Diaz and her dude, they get pregnant towards the end of the movie, and then that carries over into the next movie, and something like that, where it's not, where you're able to maybe dive into some of those stories a little more, but then again, it's not focusing on one couple where maybe you get tired of like, this is depressing, or like her husband's an asshole. Like, you can still bounce around, and they're all still interconnected in an interesting way.
That reminds me, I totally agree with you, because that reminds me of how I thought that I'd originally seen this movie before, because I had, when I knew we were getting to this, Bria and I text each other every fucking day, but sometimes like it's about the show, sometimes it's not. And when we were getting ready to watch,
friends because of this show.
Okay, all right, noted. Bring that up in therapy. So, but we getting ready to record and watch this movie, I was like, I know I've seen this before, but I can't remember if it's because the characters crossed over from different movies, because I know sometimes who's that famous director that does the John McKay movies, Adam McKay movies, that did like Step Brothers and like This Is 40, and anyways, so I thought that maybe I'd seen this movie based on these characters that were based on other movies. And so I know that there have been movies like that where like Knocked Up, This Is 40, and maybe 40-Year-Old Virgin, they all kind of like cross
like they're kind of pseudo in the same universe.
They're pseudo in the same universe. Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Like apparently Romeo and Michelle actually exist in the Quentin Tarantino universe, because there are products that Quentin Tarantino made up, like cigarettes and cigarette brands, and
the Apple Red cigarettes.
Yeah, a burger place that are in his movies and only his movies.
Yeah.
And because he was dating Mina Sorvino, they used them in Romeo and Michelle at that time. And so it's like, that's so weird, but
that is so weird. Oh, dang. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I thought that these characters existed from another movie, and I was like, oh, that's why I know them. Because I couldn't just wrap my little pea-sized brain around the fact that I would have just
all in one movie.
That I would have watched this on my own steam at some point. I had too much pride to believe that I would have watched this by myself. But I fucking did. And guess what? I still love it. I love this movie. I like, even though I give it 3.5 stars, like, it's a cute movie. Sure, there are some things that are problematic that don't hold up to today, but I like it.
Well, Simone, why don't you tell us what the movie's about?
Yes. All right, let's go for it. So, like we stated earlier, What to Expect When You're Expecting is based off of the hit bestseller from the 1980s, but it goes over 5 couples that live intertwined lives that are turned upside down by the challenges of impending parenthood. It stars a huge cast, following but not limited to Cameron Diaz, Matthew Morrison, Dennis Quaid, Elizabeth Banks, Chase Crawford, Brooklyn Deckard, Ben Falcone, Anna Kendrick, Chris Rock, Rodrigo Santoros, our lovely lady of the hour, Jennifer Lopez, Rebel Wilson, Rob Hudell, Joe Manganiello, who's ripped as fuck and is in Magic Mike, I think, and True Blood.
Yes, that's how I know
that's
him as
it,
True
yeah.
Blood. Whoa, baby.
Yeah.
Also, he's married to Sofia Vergara.
Of course he is. And their
Sofia
children are,
Vergara.
of course. Fuck yeah, dude. I
Hot
want to
couple.
be. I want to be a fly on the wall in their sex sessions. I need to fan myself. Thomas Lennon and Amir Talai. So it's a huge, huge cast. Kind of filmed not so much in a similar way, but a little bit similar. Of like he's just not that into you, or
Yes.
Valentine's Day. But basically, it follows these 5 different couples as they make their way through pregnancy.
That's funny because I noted that. I was like, this movie seems like on trend of those other movies that came before it, which I had to look up. I was like, when did those come out? And they came out before. But I was like, this feels like that, where it's like all these fucking really famous ass, good looking people that are good actors, and you're just like, yeah, I like all these people.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Yeah. To be a little bit more specific, we have Over the Moon, about starting a family. We have a TV fitness guru, Jules, played by Cameron Diaz, and dance show star Evan, played by Matthew Morrison, find out that they are pregnant, and that because celebrity lives don't always make it very easy, as we know with Bennifer, to stand a chance against the surprise demands of being together. We have Wendy and her husband Gary Bear. We have Wendy, played by Elizabeth Banks, who plays an author and advocacy of breastfeeding, who with her husband Gary have really been trying to get pregnant for several years as a couple, but have struggled. Find that in the beginning of the movie, they just kind of leave it up to fate and find out that they are pregnant. But Gary is related to Dennis Quaid's character, and Dennis Quaid had since remarried with a very young and beautiful Brooklyn Decker, who's actually younger than Gary's character. And they both announced very much trophy wife, and they announced at the same time at their little Sunday brunch that they're both pregnant. We have photographer Holly, played by our lovely Jennifer Lopez, and she's prepared to travel the globe to adopt a child, but her husband Alex, played by Rodrigo Santoro, isn't so sure. Yeah. It's just, they're a hot couple. And tries to quiet his panic by attending a dudes support group where he meets Chris Rock, Rob Hudell, Joe Manganiello, Thomas Lennon, and Amir Talai. And then we have another set of characters played by 2 rival food truck chefs, Rosie and Marco, which is Anna Kendrick and Chase Crawford. So all of these couples either become pregnant or decide to become pregnant by other means throughout this movie. And each of the hour and 50 minutes of this film is dedicated to each of these couples' screen time. I'd say fairly equally, but if I could choose, I'd say Elizabeth Banks is probably like the main lead in this movie. Would you agree?
Yeah, I feel like their storyline, especially because it intertwines with Dennis Quaid's and Brooklyn Decker's, they get a little more meat of the movie on their story. And then I would say Cameron and J-Lo's. And then
they're equal. Yeah, Anna Kendrick's is kind of the smallest role.
Which is crazy to me because of how their story not takes place, but what winds up happening with their pregnancy, because you would think that's like a very serious thing that you could give like a good amount of time to. but I just think it's the nature of their relationship and stuff. But
yeah, the nature of their relationship, the nature of like the fact that they had gotten pregnant kind of on like a one night stand. It was a little bit of a hookup. It was not planned, but I want to save my thoughts for that when we talk about at the end if this movie was to be remade.
Yes. All right. So what do you think of this trailer?
I watched, there were two different theatrical trailers. One that really follows more of Elizabeth Banks' story where she's at this really, I don't know what you call it. It's definitely an expo, but she's at some kind of a parenthood pregnant expo, and she's very pregnant at this point, giving a motivational talk about kind of what to expect when you're expecting. And it starts off very sweet, but then she ends up like being like, you know what, fuck this, like this sucks, I hate this, Gary, I want to punch you in the dick, like I can't believe you did this to me, and and then that's what kind of sets up this comedic tone, and it lets you know like, oh, this movie isn't going to be about the sunshine and rainbows of pregnancy, it's about this like ugly nitty gritty but kind of like it's so bad that it makes us laugh kind of deal with pregnancy. Yeah. I thought that it was it was not misleading. I knew exactly what I was getting into watching this movie without giving too much of it away.
Yeah, I think watching it, if I saw this playing before another movie, I'd be like, oh, that looks funny. Like, I might want to go see that. Like, I don't think this is a movie just because I think it is definitely more hard-hitting for our audience who's going to see it randomly on TV or, you know, something like that. I still think it's a movie theater worthy movie, like where you're like, yeah, that seems like a fun like movie to go see with like my girls or something like that, even if you don't relate to it. Like, but yeah, I don't think it was misleading. I do think it does give a lot of like some of the big funny stuff away.
Yeah, sometimes comedies can do that, where kind of we're talking about like the trailers of the 90s, how it's like you basically just showed the entire movie in a minute and 20 seconds. But sometimes comedies do that, unfortunately, where they show you the funniest punchline. And the other things that ensue in this movie are kind of like, oh, it's not as funny as the trailer was. Like the trailer kind of gives away the funniest pieces. Yeah. But I don't agree with that. With this movie, I feel like there was still enough sprinkled throughout. But in addition to Elizabeth Banks giving her kind of like fuck this, fuck you speech about being pregnant, we see this, I love it when you call me Biggie Papa. We get some like
Biggie.
We got some Biggies. We got some Biggie Smalls up in here with the dad group slow-mo walking out here, and these like group of dads.
I wish they didn't give that away in the trailer.
Me too.
Because when I watched it, I was like, oh shit, that's hilarious.
It's funny. Yeah, so that's this like dad group played by this completely different set of side characters that don't necessarily intermingle. Like their wives don't intermingle with the female lead casts.
Wait, they do.
Well,
only
kind of.
Like J-Lo's co-worker played by
J-Lo's
Wendy
right.
Covey.
But that's small.
But none of them are like pregnant and stuff like that.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. That's what I meant. So like these side characters of this like fuddy-duddy dad group, as I like to call it, of these dads with like pure intentions but are just kind of like bumbling and don't really know what they're supposed to do, but then they take these like Saturday morning walks to kind of like bitch about fatherhood and bitch about their lives. And at first in my notes I was like, okay, that's something that doesn't hold up, but I rescinded that and was like, you know what, actually I can't say that because I don't know what it's like to be a parent, and I would be willing to bet that if I got together with you, Bria, that I'd probably bitch about being a parent, or I'd want to bitch about my husband, or I'd want to bitch about like something, you know? So I felt like I had to take a step back from some of those characters and stuff, but that was one of the most enjoyable set of characters in this movie for me, was this little dad's group.
Oh yeah, I think they definitely like kind of stole the comedy part of it, like or they were intended to be like a big part of the funny part of it. So I really enjoyed that when they came in, and then a couple times when, you know, they meet up again throughout. Chris Rock's son has some moments that are hilarious.
That were like very kind of funny as the backup plan with, oh shoot, hold on, let me look up his name. Maybe I was so bitchy, but like, you know, the dad in the backup plan that he goes to meet at and his kid comes out.
Anthony Anderson.
Thank you, Anthony Anderson, where he's just like, is that poop? What is that? Like, I don't know. I felt like Anthony Anderson could have easily been in this dad group, that he would have found a very safe home.
Yeah, it felt very familiar because of that, but I think it was, well, not that Anthony Anderson was bad, it's just, you know,
that was a bad movie.
Alex O'Loughlin. Not him, but the character. Yeah. But I think this group of guys are, you know, the wisdom and the help that they helped give Rodrigo's character was way more valuable in the scheme of things than that part of the backup plan, where it was just like, it's not really helping him out because he's still a shitty like expecting father boyfriend person. So
true.
But yeah, I mean, this cast is amazing. I do want to point out I just want to go back to Lil Raj for a second, because he pointed out that there seems to be an informal law that characters in a movie like this must have unusual and colorful occupations. And I thought that was funny because they all have really interesting jobs. They're all obviously Hollywood actors and they're all really beautiful and stuff. I feel like maybe a movie like this, you could cast some kind of, I don't mean this in a bad way, but there are actors who definitely look like regular ass people. Like, yeah. And I feel like maybe this movie could have cast some of those people, and maybe that would have helped a little bit with like the tone of the movie, of taking it a little more serious. Whereas it's like not that pretty people can't suffer, but like, you're just like, oh, like, you'll be fine. Like, you have a hot husband, Jennifer Lopez, Holly. Like, you have a very interesting career in photography. I just feel like Ben Falcone was like the most normally looking dude.
Yes,
like,
and I really like him as an actor because he is, and that's what I kind of appreciated about the dad group in general, with, of course, a huge side to Joe Manganiello, however you pronounce his last name, because he's just like a whole whatever, Magnum condom. He's huge. Like, he has a big dick, because he was in Magic Mike, was he not? And they actually did, like, there were some revealing things.
I have not seen Magic Mike, so.
Okay, so I saw Magic Mike in the theater, but from what I was told was that it was what we saw, whether it was like a side shadow or a cast, was that it was real. But maybe it's not. Maybe I'm feeding into this rumor. But anyways, Joe Manganiello is like ripped AF, but all of these other dads were like rocking dad bods, and they're very like average looking, and I always appreciate that. And I love Ben Falcone as an actor, and even his character on this show had kind of cross-referenced with Cameron Diaz, who her claim to fame is being this like famous celebrity weight loss coach, kind of like Jillian Michaels from The Biggest Loser. Yeah. Right? Okay. So that was kind of like what her character was about, and his character had previously been on her show before and had like lost weight and stuff. But I don't know, I like, it's kind of refreshing when you see movies like this, because Elizabeth Banks is really beautiful, Jennifer Lopez really beautiful, and in all, I mean, the cast is great. And then there's people who are just like very like, it's more relatable because you can see yourself in these characters. I have a really hard time relating to people like Anna Kendrick and Jennifer Lopez, because they're just like this level of beauty that I'm not born into, I'm never gonna be, and that's fine. That's not a diss to me, but like you can just relate more to like your little average Joe underdog stories.
Yeah, no shade to Anna Kendrick, but she's the most average looking of the women to me, so I feel like she was okay casting wise. I feel like Chase Crawford was the like whoa of that couple, where it's like,
he's hot. Anna Kendrick to me is, and this can totally get cut, but she's just
pretty.
She's
just
pretty.
Looks like
she's
someone I could see in normal life too.
She's girl next door to me.
Yeah,
she's very. Yeah,
I'm not seeing J-Lo next
safe.
door though.
Yeah,
or Brooklyn Decker or Cameron Diaz. Like, sorry, but
no.
Like,
no.
Anna Kendrick's someone who could have went to St. Mary's. Like,
Anna Kendrick, I could have sat next to in seminar and would have been like, she's funny.
Like, Dang,
But
she's
that's
really
it.
pretty. Like, it's kind of early. Like,
Hmm.
but yeah, okay. So, the only qualm I have about this cast really is, surprise, surprise, Dennis Quaid. I
Okay.
thought he was too young to be Gary's dad. I feel
Yeah.
like they could have casted way older, like super duper sugar daddy status with trophy wife, but
Mm.
I just didn't find it believable to me. And I was like, low key, it would have been interesting if he was Chase Crawford's character's dad. But then, like, once
Mm.
I saw the storyline of them, like, having, like, kind of this weird competitive thing and stuff like that, I was like, oh, okay, well, I get that. So I just think they could have casted older than they did by choosing him. But
I kind of attributed that to, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I kind of attributed that to being, so Dennis Quaid's character is supposed to be a very famous
NASCAR
NASCAR
driver.
race car driver. And so I thought that maybe he just like knocked someone up at a really young age. And so he was like maybe a teen dad or like dad in his 20s. And now that he's in his like 40s and 50s, where his son is in his like mid 30s, early 40s. And he has like a trophy wife that's either the same age as his son or younger.
Way younger.
Way younger. Yeah, that it, to me it's believable, but maybe just because Dennis Quaid looks young.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably believable. It's just that, like, I was like, but Dennis Quaid's still hot. Like, how is he like some kind
Dennis
of oldish
Quaid,
guy's dad? Like,
yeah. Dennis Quaid is like my side piece to Kurt Russell. I've always thought Kurt Russell was just like dreamy and hot in a weird way, and I kind of feel that way about Dennis Quaid.
I mean, Nick Parker's always gonna have a heart, like a place in all of our hearts, I'm sure. Let's get into Miss Jennifer Lopez since
Let's
we've
do
talked
it.
ad
Her
nauseum
role
about the cast.
her role is smart, but she plays such a big, she fills up a huge spot in our hearts.
As always. I mean, the only thing I had a problem with, and it's not her, is just that I initially was just like, oh, great, the only woman of color is the one who has fertility problems and can't have a baby.
Hmm.
But I think that in the long run, any of these stories are relatable despite race and stuff like that. And the fact that they wind up adopting a baby that's not even similar heritage and that's from
Mm-hmm.
Ethiopia, like, I thought was a very interesting, like, smart turn of that, of not adopting like a baby that looks like them, or like, that's the only thing I noted that I was just like about. But I really liked her as this character. I feel like in a lot of movies of hers as we've gone on, like with Monster in Law in The Backup Plan, she's played these really like boho, like artsy chicks who are kind of very different than what we expect from Jennifer Lopez. And
Yes.
I really like her as these characters. Like, she seems super fun and free spirited
Yeah,
and
there's almost an element of a manic pixie dream girl in there where
yes.
she's a little bit too like she's a quirky girl where her counterpart doesn't always understand her and gets frustrated because they can't like cage her and she doesn't want to be caged. But that's a whole different complex on its own. I wish that her part was a little bit bigger, that maybe she had either had like second bill next to Elizabeth Banks where her story got a little bit more airtime, because I think adoption is not a lot of it's
Mm.
not a common thing that is brought up, and I don't want to say it's necessarily stigmatized, but I know that like when I've brought it up as just kind of a little idea out there as my journey, a lot of people are like, well, why? Like, is it because there's something medically wrong or what? Like, you know, like people
Yeah.
just always want, it's like sometimes there's not a reason. Sometimes it's just like you, again, like that goes with the whole personal issue behind this movie of like, it's the couple's choice on why they choose to do what they do. My issue was that it was just kind of a bummer that this was her second movie back to back since The Backup Plan about a pregnancy and motherhood, where she wanted it so badly and was willing to go through these extra steps kind of in the backup plan, where she just kind of, she didn't have a partner, but she just sought out fertility treatment because she just wanted to have a baby and she didn't want to wait. Or she's already married with her spouse and they've tried IVF and they've tried surrogacy and they've tried these other options, but it just wasn't going to work and it wasn't in the cards for them. And they try adoption. But yet again, she's met with this spouse who doesn't really want fatherhood, or is really kind of not put off, but a little scared and intimidated by the idea of fatherhood. So it just would have been cool to maybe see her in like Elizabeth Banks's role, where she had a spouse who was like, fuck yeah, you're pregnant. Like, that's amazing. And I'm here to, like, because Gary was so supportive of her the entire time. Was like, you peed yourself. That's fine. Like, let me get you something else. Or like, oh, girl, you farted. Like, that was crazy intense. But, like, it just was a little bit of a bummer to me to see her in 2 back-to-back roles about wanting motherhood so bad and still having a partner who was not 100% on board with her in her decision.
Yeah. I wonder... I mean, I can only ask, and I have no theories on this at all, but I wonder, this is something I would ask her, I wonder why she picked these roles back to back that are so similar in that way, because I feel like actors pick things for reasons, like,
yeah.
But sometimes too, like, they read a script and they audition for maybe one role, and like whoever the casting people that might be like, oh, like, maybe try read for this role instead. Like, I don't really, that's not what I envision for the character of Wendy. So, or maybe they've already set on Ben Falcone, so
yeah, that's true.
They don't see Jennifer Lopez with him, or I don't know.
I'm curious if I could be an interviewer in this process, to be like, was there another storyline that you might have sought out instead of Holly's? Or if it just wasn't available to you, maybe they already, like you said, maybe they already had Elizabeth Banks and Ben Falcone like set for kind of the main couple. Yeah. But I don't know, even to see her in like in a Brooklyn Deckers way, like as a trophy wife, just where she like sneezed and she gave birth, just because we always kind of poke fun at JLo for being so fucking effortlessly beautiful, that like I feel like her pregnancy could have been like that, where she's just like, achoo, oh, my Emmy and Ami, my beautiful twins, they're here.
Well, what's funny is that in there's a panel interview of the women, and so in her pieces, someone asked her like, oh, which pregnancy did you relate to the most? And she said she related to the Brooklyn Decker pregnancy with the twins. Like, it was really easy for the most part, and she felt fine until she got like almost to deliver, and even that, her delivery was fine. She had a C-section, and it was over. I also thought initially, because we opened up with Cameron Diaz like doing this Dancing with the Stars kind of show, I thought it was kind of all centered around that, and I thought Jennifer Lopez was gonna be dancing because
I could have seen her in that role too. Yeah,
so like even if she was like in the Jules role, like I could see her and Rodrigo switching like and being in those roles instead, which would totally make sense. Also, she's super into working out, as we know, so it's just I would love to know more about like the casting decisions or the role choices of her, and why it's so it matches up so well with the backup plan a little bit. But unlike the backup plan, I did like that she was married, and that they seem to have been together for a while, and that this was obviously something that they were trying for and talking about for a while, so that part was great.
And as a couple, you can tell that they were definitely in love and loved each other. When the adoption agency rep came over to their house, and they were kind of like joking around with each other.
Shout out to Kim Fields, aka Tootie from The Facts of Life, or Regine from Living Single.
And oh my gosh, sorry. I was like not expecting that.
I'm sorry, I was like, oh my god, Kim Fields is in this. What?
But like you can tell that they were you know, they were at least married, they were invested in each other, which was different from the backup plan versus them just meeting like right after she kind of got pregnant in these weird circumstances. But yeah, I liked that they were like sweet and goofy. And again, kind of what my same stipulation was for the backup plan of like, I'm not saying that this isn't hard and that it wouldn't be a very scary, difficult situation for a couple to go through, because I can only pretend to know what it would be like to make this kind of choices. But yeah, just if her husband was more, I mean, he can look like Rodrigo Santoro, but maybe have the personality of a Ben Falcone and be like really supportive, be like, all right, fuck yeah, we're having these babies early, or we're going to Ethiopia early, or you lost your job, that's fine, we're gonna make it work. You know? I don't know.
I mean, yes, it's not the greatest situation, but I feel like that's too idealistic, and I think that's part of their storyline. And I think that his trepidation was a little more understandable than the guy who meets a girl. She tells him this is her situation and decides to continue on with that process of like, okay, well, I really like you and you're having babies. Okay, we can do this
There's
together.
a difference between we've been married for a few years and we've tried different means to get pregnant, and now we've been approved for adoption, and just kidding, it's not a year from now, it's like a few months from now, to like all of a sudden have to buy a house and get, you know, materials to home your baby and baby proof your home. But that versus like, we met and you're telling me on like our first or second date that you're pregnant through donor IVF or whatever. And yeah, like you're right, there's a huge difference between the two.
Yeah, and there was a point where I thought like maybe he's gonna ditch her and be like, you know what, I don't actually really want to adopt, like this isn't. And I think she questions him. She's like, you want this, right? Like, and he's like, yeah, I just, you know, I'm just nervous, which I get too, because in general pregnancy, like, yes, ideally I think most women want a Ben Falcone or Dennis Quaid, who are all about like the babies and like
I want a Dennis Quaid for that cash money, baby.
And who are excited, or even I mean all the guys except sorry, see, that's the shitty part. They should have varied it a little more, because even Matthew Morrison, he's super doting. He's like, you need to chill out, to Cameron Diaz's Jules character. Like, you need to calm down. You're pregnant. Like, you shouldn't be filming. Like, she's filming a weight loss show and all this stuff. She's like, I'm fine. Like, you need to calm down. Like, and then you have Chase Crawford, who gets Anna Kendrick pregnant unexpectedly, and is very much where he could have been like, well, I mean, we're not even together, so what do you want me to do? He's very much like, well, it's your body, what do you want to do? And like, well, I'm here, you know, let's try to figure this out. He could have totally been a dick and been like, well, oops, like, fix it. Like, they're all pretty idyllic, except, and like, not that Alex isn't, but he just obviously is in a situation where it's not as like concrete. You don't know babies, you don't know what you're gonna get anyways. But like, I just think that in general, men usually are detached from pregnancy because they're not pregnant. They don't feel the baby. They don't, you know, all that change that's happening for a woman, they experience it, and men are just kind of there for the ride. And how much of the ride they're there for and how supportive they are varies. And I think with adoption, it probably is a bit more of a bumpier ride to like be alongside for, because it's not happening to your wife, but it's happening. And then it's just like, boom, we have a baby. Okay. Like, so I understand his like wow, this is really happening, and I'm not mad at it. But I do think now, thinking about it, like with the other men, I wish that some of the other men had some moments of like, whoa, like, this is a lot,
just to equal it out a little bit more. Because Chase Crawford's character actually, to me, seemed a little bit more invested than Anna Kendrick, where Anna Kendrick was the one really pushing him away. But, you know, her reasoning why at the end of like, every time I look at you, it breaks my heart, which I can't even talk about because I already feel the emotions swelling inside of my throat. So like, you know, that part is is hard, but like just their dynamic, it seemed like he was the one who was constantly trying to maybe like talk about it or pick things back up or try to process what they went through together as a couple, and she was the one who was a little bit more standoffish and pushing him away. And with Dennis Quaid and Ben Falcone, they were very supportive and doting. You're right, like, you know, wearing the Snuggie on the couch and hanging out with them and doing whatever they kind of want to do. So
watching the weight loss show,
watching watching this stupid reality TV.
I think with Anna Kendrick's character, like, in a way, it kind of makes her unlikable, because you're like, when fucking Chase Crawford, he's really attractive and he's like really trying his best.
I know.
And I not to say again, like, you disclaimed, so thank you for that. I thought it was like kind of funny before, but it's perfect. We don't understand. I don't know what it's like to lose a child, but I would think that usually it's portrayed like that the guy really is just, again, kind of like, you know, yes, we were expecting a baby, but like I never felt like a difference or anything yet of like what that expectation is compared to a woman. And so I get that she would be very upset and sad and all that stuff, but I would also think that you would want the support of the guy there versus pushing him away. So yeah, that part was a little like,
Anna Kendrick's character had a lot of really deep-seated walls that were already like built around her, and she just kind of used that as an excuse of like, well, you're off the hook now, bye. And you were you said it first. I feel like I've just been kind of dancing around it. Her character miscarries, and that's not that's not something that is talked a lot about very often. And I'm not talking about this from a point of personal experience myself, but a personal experience of a lot of friends who I know who have gone through this. And that was the first point in the movie that I was like, God damn it, I'm crying, just because I have felt that loss emotionally through my friends who have gone through that and who have gone through that unexpected grief with their partners. And it's, you know, statistically really difficult for couples to stay together when they've lost a child, whether that child has come to fruition or is already, many years, a kid, like, I don't want to say that,
like, you've helped, like, they've existed and you raised them and all that stuff.
Like they've been around for a while, so it's like difficult for couples to stay together after the fact. So I do appreciate the movie taking kind of on that stance where it is really hard for couples to move past that. And I think her reasoning of like, every time I look at you, it kills me, because, you know, she thinks about her unborn baby and what could have been, you know, whether it could have been the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I don't know, there's also that weird moment at the end where they strangely meet up again at the hospital because Chase Crawford accidentally runs over his like friend's foot in their food truck, and then he takes his friend to the same hospital where the babies were being delivered. And Anna Kendrick is cousins with Brooklyn Decker, and she's like, oh, I'm actually gonna go like visit my cousin who's married to that famous race car driver, and she just had twins. And Chase was just like, you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm good, I'll have a chance another time. And whether or not she was just kind of like brushing it off of like, I don't really want to talk about this right now, or like, yeah, no, I don't know, to me that just seemed a little too like blasé to kind of brush it off. But either way, Anna Kendrick's characters had a very thick, tall walls built around her.
That, and he winds up going with her. She's like, you wanna come with? And he's like, are you sure? Like, and then
he's like, it's a little weird, but I'll do it.
I just feel like they should have. This might have been the storyline that should have been serious or given more time, because they should have had a conversation about, you know,
they needed to process it, to go to therapy, or just like to even if it's not in therapy, just to have a moment together to be like, we experienced this even though it was unplanned, but like his feelings weren't really acknowledged either. She just kind of brushed him away, to seeing like, okay, whatever, you're off the hook now. You don't have to worry about being a dad to a child that you didn't really plan to have. But that's not to say that he wasn't affected by that loss.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was wrapped up too quickly and not given enough time. Which,
and that's Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say that I actually was expecting the Wendy and Gary couple to experience miscarriage instead, because they had been trying for so long and then lucked up on getting pregnant, like when they were like, let's just, whatever happens happens. And I feel like that's more common, so I thought it was really brave for them to have like this very young, attractive, you know, pairing be the ones that miscarried. Like, I thought that was an interesting choice, and
Right.
like, I'm here for it. It's not a bad choice, but like,
Of course.
I was like, oh wow, I was not expecting that. Like,
Yeah.
so
Well, here's cue. The third time I cried was when Elizabeth Banks like passes out during her C-section because she loses a lot of blood. So there's a moment where you're not sure if they're actually going to pull through. So my sister Leah gave birth about 3 months ago, and she gave birth the day that Bria and I were watching Enough, which I know we talked about on the recording of this episode of like, my nephew was born when we were watching this movie. But you know, there's no amount of reading books like What to Expect When You're Expecting, or research that you can do that's going to prepare you for how it's actually going to be on your delivery day. And, you know, thank God Leah's okay, and Elliot's okay, and James is okay. But, you know, there were some, without giving too much of their personal lives away, there were some really dicey moments. Her pregnancy was not textbook by any means. And I think that was the part where I got emotional, because they had said like, your baby's heart rate is dropping, we're going to need you to go into a C-section. And you know, it's like, what, that wasn't in my birth plan, like, there's just so many things that can go.
She's like, no, I want to push, I want to push, like,
exactly. And it's just, you just never know how it's going to be up to the very second of delivery and birth. And I'll kind of stop there. I won't go on to other personal experiences with friends and stuff, but that part was the third time that got me in this movie, because I thought about how you think how it's going to go in the delivery room, but then it turns out to be something scarier or unexpected.
Yeah.
And that was a couple. I mean, we're kind of rooting for all of the couples here, but with Wendy and Gary, they just were trying for so long to get pregnant, and for most of her pregnancy she was actually doing pretty well, even though she was like gassy and peed herself all the time. Like, that was the funny part. But then it was when her delivery came around that things started to go a little wrong. And I was also surprised. I thought that maybe there would have been a different, more tragic outcome with their couple telling, but I'm happy for I think it would have been a different movie. It wouldn't have been a rom-com. It would have been way more of a serious movie. So despite what Anna Kendrick and Chase Crawford went through, this still ended up being very much a romantic comedy. And most people, for the most part, they might have been a little bit scarred. They might have needed to maybe seek some therapy and work on some things, but they ended up.
Yeah, wow. I was not expecting that either. But I'm glad that it ended up how it did. But yeah, I mean, I think those nuggets of like serious like curveballs are what help also make this movie very enjoyable and interesting, because it's not just a movie like Baby Mama where it's just like pure unadulterated comedy about
shenanigans and everything's fine.
Like, there's a little tinge of like realness to a very comedic and somewhat romantic, cute movie, and I think that that's a beautiful way to incorporate some of those very tough things versus having a super duper heavy movie where, you know, these things are addressed in a very, very realistic, tough, unpretty, unfunny, kind of any kind of way. Which, like, I'm sure I watched one movie with Vanessa Kirby from The Crown. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it's her and Shia LaBeouf, and she's pregnant, and it's very serious, like, pregnancy type movie. And I enjoyed the acting and all that, but, like, I also knew what I was getting into. And I'm glad that they addressed this stuff, but it wasn't that heavy, because if they like curveballed us like
it
that,
wouldn't have been the movie that we signed up for.
Yes, exactly. Like, That's what I'm trying to say. So,
Yeah.
long-windedly.
We can be like Ja Rule. I too was led astray. Hoodwink.
And one more thing I want to go back to Jennifer Lopez and Rodrigo is that in an interview, Jennifer Lopez said that the director, Kirk Jones, had given her and Rodrigo notes like that they didn't need to be as touchy. And she's like, no, but we're that couple. Like, we're the fun couple. We're very much in love with each other. We're Latino. Like, we touch a lot. Like, that's just normal. But I thought it was very interesting because also by this movie, I believe her and Mark Anthony are separated and getting a divorce. So I was like, was there an attraction there? Or I don't know if she was dating Casper Smart, aka Bo, by then. Or Bo, aka Casper, by then. But I just thought that was very interesting because she was like, you know, we had really, really good chemistry and we enjoyed working together. And the director actually had to tell us to, like, you can cool it down. You don't need to touch that much, or you don't need to be so lovey. Like, you could turn it down a bit. But yeah, so on that note, I think we've talked extensively about this movie, and I think it's clear we enjoyed it. I think this was a strong choice for JLo. Of course, I'm interested in seeing if there's any parallels between Backup Plan and this. I thought her acting was fine. That's another thing. Did I note that?
Note what?
Because I think it was in an interview and someone was like, you know, you're just so like pretty, like you're good at this. Like, it's just like, it's your bread and butter, really. And she's like, you know, I just really love romantic comedies. Like, because I think they were asking, like, you know, once you kind of flip the switch of doing romantic comedies versus like some of the more serious like roles that you were doing before, you've just kind of really like adapted and you're like really strong and just like, it's like second nature to you. And she's like, yeah, well, I love romantic comedies. Like, I love these kinds of movies. If I could watch any kind of movie, it would be a romantic comedy. So I think I just really enjoy doing romantic comedies. How many times did I say romantic comedies? But I think at this point, again, I think we might have a few more romantic comedies, but it is clear that these are movies of choice for Jennifer Lopez, really. And she's really good at doing it. And we hardly at this point really have any problems with her acting in them. No. I think it's really easy for her to play like the fun, quirky, like, you know, headstrong woman, but still fun and all that stuff. Like, it's not a stretch by any means for her to play these roles. So
I thought her character as Holly was very believable. They didn't try to tame her beauty down into something that it wasn't. You know, she there was this funny part where her friends throw her and her husband a surprise baby shower because they knew that, you know, things were going through with their adoption. And what's her husband's like character name in the movie?
Alex.
Thank you. So Alex was in the dad group at this point, and someone in the dad group has a son named Henri, but spelled like Henry. And so they're all kind of drunk and they're stumbling down to their cabs, and he's like, you're just mad because you let your wife call your son Henri, but you know that his name's supposed to be Henry. And then the wife's all mad. And she was just like, oh, I'm just saying it's their spicy Latino, like, sense of humor is supposed to be. But she makes this comment, when you look like that, you can have a sense of humor like that, but you don't get to say shit like that. Which I thought was really funny because I was like, ugh, come on, that's kind of a stupid joke to make. But her follow-up comment to make it, I was like, okay, that was really funny. But
also, it shows, like, the relationship that Holly and Alex have where he broke guy code in a way and told her something from, you know, what happens in Fight Club stays in Fight Club.
Exactly. What happens in dad group stays in dad
And they
group.
Iced him out after that, too. They were like, no, you broke the code. But they eventually let him back in. But,
But, other than that, I have no, like, I have no qualms with her character. I thought that it wasn't too it just felt like everything was very believable. And that, it's okay to be a beautiful couple but maybe struggling financially. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like, to me it was, but she could have been in any of those roles, and it maybe besides Anna Kendrick, because it maybe just was a little bit too young, but she could have been in any of those roles and it would have been believable, whether it was Elizabeth Banks or Cameron Diaz or maybe even Brooklyn Decker as like just a funny little dumb housewife. Like, I think her role could have been believable.
Yeah. Oh, also, we have not talked about Rebel Wilson at all, which
yeah. Okay, I love Rebel Wilson. I think she's just kind of a huge queen of like low-key comedy where they're just background characters where they're subtly funny, but they say these little one-liners that really stick with you. My biggest issue with her was her accent. It's like, just be Australian, girl. Why do you have to fake this Southern accent?
I was just like, since what? Like, no, this is not. And I feel like her accent impeded the jokes.
Agreed.
Because it felt so like hard. It felt hard for her to get out. Like,
yeah.
And you're just like, oh, like, I know Rebel Wilson can be funnier than this. Like, I think Elizabeth Banks out-funnied her in that dynamic. And so...
Did Pitch Perfect come out before this? Let me check really quickly, because I know she was in Pitch Perfect with Anna Kendrick.
And Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah. That's right. So they're, like, very cast-friendly. So, interesting. So Pitch Perfect came out in 2012, in September.
Oh.
So they were working on it probably the same time as What to Expect.
Yeah, a lot of the actors kind of have some crossover because Craig Thomas Lennon and Cara Wendy McClendon-Covey, they were on Reno 911 together.
Yes.
And so that's like an interesting duo to bring back together on this movie. And then I want to say Joe Manganiello was in something else with somebody or something, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, like, great movie. I don't know what else to say.
yeah. All around, this movie surprised me. And Bria, I'm sad to say that I know for sure I did not watch this in Livermore. I watched it when I was probably still living at my parents' house, and maybe when I was pet sitting or I was home alone one night, but I definitely remember seeing this by myself because I was like, no one can know that I'm watching this movie on my own will and accord.
Wow.
And then ended up being like, okay, that wasn't bad, but I don't remember having that visceral reaction of emotion as I did this time around, and which to me shows a lot of growth and development in my world, because before, if I could just watch a movie like this and not, and that's not to say if you don't cry watching this movie that you're like a bad person. That's totally not where I'm going, but it's just more of like a lot of things have happened in my life since watching this the first time and watching this past weekend to be like, oh Lord, of that TikTok audio.
Even though you haven't experienced it, you can relate and empathize because of the things that you know other people that you're close to that aren't fictional people have gone through. So that's totally understandable. I think if I saw this when it came out, I totally I didn't have friends that had kids then, so well, no, that's not true. I think Marissa probably had kids, but I have way more friends with kids now, so I have a little bit more
definitely, me too,
than I would have then. But I know there was something you said that you wanted to talk about when we talked about, does this movie hold its own or could it be remade?
Yeah, I think the thing that, so the two things that kind of bothered me the most were there's just the general fat phobia stuff. I'm so fucking sick of that, and I'm especially sensitive to things that have to do around using diet culture as humor in movies. I just think that it's not funny. And it's done. We need to be done with it. So Cameron Diaz's character wasn't so much problematic, but it was just the show that it was based off of, because Biggest Loser wasn't supposed to be funny, but a lot of the characters in this movie watch the show that Cameron Diaz is on, like Anna Kendrick's roommates and Elizabeth Banks and her husband watch this movie on like their little chill nights on the couch and stuff. And it seemed like sometimes they'd be watching it with like more of a ha ha ha, let's watch these overweight people like fall and fail and kind of laugh at their
make me
pain
feel better about myself.
to make me feel better about myself. So that I'm really sick and tired of. And then I had noted that just like the bumbling dads bitching about their wives in the dads group. But then I kind of was like, all right, let me take a pause on that because I'm not a wife, I'm not a mother, and I can probably, it'd be safe to say that I could be in those shoes and relate to that if I was a mom and a wife, to be like, you know what, let me just like talk really quickly about like just something that really that kind of like bothers me in my relationship, but to have like a safe group of friends to be able to talk about. So I kind of rescinded those things. However, if this movie was to be remade, I love your idea about having it maybe almost be like a Netflix miniseries that crosses over, like each episode focuses on a different couple, but they all kind of intermingle in some different ways. So they cross over each episode, or just to have a movie that still follows the heartache, heartbreak, joys, glowing moments, and gassy moments of pregnancy, but maybe in a realistic way where they're just like very average mothers and not mothers of like wealthy spouses or wealthy, well-to-do couples, maybe to throw in some like really struggling
the barista.
A barista. Yeah, I was just like,
chick who works at Target, some corporate cubicle lady who I work with, where we throw people baby showers and pull together gifts, and you're in the break room on your lunch popping in and out like, we opening gifts yet? I got 30 minutes. Like,
yes, exactly.
Those people, normal
exactly
people.
just more normal people, not like people of race car fame. I don't know.
Not people working at the aquarium who get to take cool ass pictures. How about the chick who checks in people selling tickets at the aquarium?
Teachers who were like strategically planning their pregnancy around summer because it's impossible to get time off, because whether you guys know it or not, being pregnant and maternity leave is treated like a fucking disability. So you go on like disability leave essentially when you're done, or when you're on maternity leave, it's treated as the same as disability. So like to go through just like more average everyday people, a little bit more relatable characters, that would be my only qualm.
I could actually see, I feel like there's so much with pregnancy, like I could see them rebooting this franchise and I wouldn't be mad at it, because I feel like it doesn't get talked about in this way a lot, you know. It's always like, again, like a baby mama thing or a super duper serious thing. So I like this like in between thing. I want to go back to your note about like the dads bitching, because I wrote that this is why I feel like men as dads set themselves up to fail, is because they complain about it outwardly, you know, and they don't seem that invested in it. And then like, because initially they were bitching, and then at one point they were like, no, like being a dad is great, like, yeah, there's all this other stuff that's like, whoa, but at the end of the day, like, I love these little like humans, and I couldn't think of anything else I'd rather be doing, like, and like that moment saved that for me. But at the same time, I'm like, that's why like men get shit on as dads, and like Father's Day isn't like as hyped up as Mother's Day.
You don't get breakfast in bed, bitch, because you weren't there feeding this kid off your titty for so long.
Not only that, but like I feel like they don't embrace fatherhood outwardly. They feel like, maybe they feel like it's not manly to do so, to outwardly be like, I love being a dad, like this is my shit.
Well,
like,
yeah, and no, it's a good point, because okay, so like the point, like the that there were saving graces in their conversation when they would say, okay, yes, I love being a dad, like I wouldn't trade any of this for the world, but then they could easily go back and talk about their wives' anatomies and saying like, oh yeah, you call it a vagina, you don't call it a pussy anymore, because once she gives birth, it's not what it used to be, it's a vagina. And instead of having that kind of disrespectful language, I believe. Like, yes, it's a vagina, and yes, it changes after you give birth, but kind of changing the tone of that conversation to be like, oh, it's a vagina because I respect it so much more
Yes.
after what I saw her go through, of have it coming from this conversation point of endearment of like, you know, I can't
Instead of
even
it being like, this is my playground, it's not
yeah,
my playground anymore. My kid came through there. More like, no, that's
exactly.
her vagina because that shit is magical. I have these 3 little humans because of it, or
They are
whatever.
exactly to have it more like I wish that there was a dad of that group. It could have been anyone to one of them to say like, you know what, I actually really respect like what my wife went through out of this. Like my dick could never open up and shoot out a child like there's so many things that women can do that men can't do, and
Yeah.
yet we get made fun of for it. So
Oh,
yeah, to change some of that dialogue around and have these really like feminist forward dads who are like, fuck yeah, my wife is so cool, like doing that kind of stuff. I would
yeah.
have loved that.
Okay, but another part of my note is that for women, I feel like it's the opposite. And that's the part of being around pregnant women I don't really love, because a lot of them are very idealistic while they're pregnant and, excited, and like they're like the Wendy character where they're like, finally, or like, I'm excited, like this is what I've been wanting, or like, I'm excited to be a mom, and they want this perfect Brooklyn Decker type pregnancy of just like, I'm glowing, it's amazing. And some of my, and actually, most of my friends, I didn't hear them complain about their pregnancy until after they gave birth, or they were very close to giving birth, where it's like, oh my God, I just want to have this baby. Like, I'm over being pregnant. Like, I'm tired. I can't wait for my due date, or like my baby hasn't come yet. It's past the due date. Like, what's going on? And it takes a lot of patience as a side viewer to ride along with the pretty much 8 months of like, oh my God, like, I'm just so excited. And then here in the last month, like,
They
this shit
spill
is,
the real tea.
yeah, this shit is terrible. Or like,
Yeah.
this isn't that great. Or like, or my birth didn't go as planned. I had to get a C-section, or the epidural is amazing, like, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
those are the things that I feel like I don't have any experience, but and it could be very, very much real, of like, they truly enjoy all the beginning stuff of pregnancy, and it is great and all that stuff, and that stuff doesn't come till the end. But I feel like some women hype up even post baby, though, they hype up motherhood, and then especially with social media, and then you feel this way of like, well, maybe I am wrong. Like, maybe this is what life is about. Like, maybe I should just be having kids and all this stuff.
It's a little bit of false advertising.
Yes, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
wordy. But yeah, it's a little bit of false advertising for women, whereas men straight up be like, yo, once you have a kid, like, you're not having sex regularly. You're lucky if you do. You're not sleeping. And women are like, yeah, it's hard, but once I look at my baby, it's just amazing. And it's like, I mean, yeah, your kid's amazing and they're cute, but like, you're tired, right? Like, it's not rainbows and sunshines as soon as you look at them, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I love you, but damn, I'm tired. Like,
That's why I'm always so appreciative of the friends that I've had and like relatives and stuff who have gone through it and give you that very open honesty. I think in the past, maybe some pregnant couples have been a little hesitant to share because maybe they don't want to like scare anyone off or like taint someone else's view if they're experiencing something that's a little bit more sunshine and rainbows. But I agree that if this movie was to be remade, to have a different dad point of view, and then to have more of those Elizabeth Banks moments where she had at the end, but throughout the entire time, it'd be like, I don't know what the fuck these women are talking about, why they're enjoying their pregnancy, but I hate it. And like,
yeah.
just to normalize that. And I've seen a lot of that on social media where women have banded together to be like, we do it because we want kids, or we do it because we love being, but like, let's be real, not a lot of people really enjoy being pregnant. And if you do, like, you're your own special species of unicorn over there. But
Yeah.
most people, I think, for the average, again, y'all can come hate for me if this
You're
triggers
not gonna get it. I am.
I know, that's what I was gonna say. If this triggers
Filter
any,
Sabria.
if this triggers any like Twitter wars, whatever, just send them to me. You can give them my DMs on Instagram. But like, I want to say the majority of pregnancies are like really difficult, and we're bred as women and girls to believe that like it's this magical, beautiful time of your life, but your body is constantly at war at yourself. Your organs are splitting apart, your butthole is turning inside out, your vagina will tear, it's inevitable. You may or may not shit yourself when you're pushing someone out, but you know, then you see this little human that comes out and you're like, holy shit, I did that. Like, that's badass. I think we just need to, it's this like whole language turning around. And that's why I hold no fault to this movie of being 2012. For I think it explains at the time that we're teetering on this edge of being a little bit more progressive and open-minded about pregnancy, with still holding some of these more traditional stereotypical values about couples. And so that if this were to be remade now, I really think, I'd like to believe that it would hold more realistic views of many different couples' experiences around the world.
Yeah. You know what? Two things. I think that when I'm coming from a place of where I see on social media, like people who don't want kids like me, and I probably like all these posts a lot, but like we're like, you guys don't make it sound fun or great. Like it looks great on Instagram, but like when I hang out with my friends or like, you know, or you see your siblings like dealing with their kids and stuff, you're like, this shit doesn't look like something I want to give up like being selfish for. And for some people that's true, and it's the acceptance of like, you guys realize like you're the advertising, it's false advertising, like
Yeah.
like he said, like, so people who've made a choice to be like, nah, I don't want kids, like, how do you question that? It's like, you aren't doing, like, you're in it and you're trying to grill me about not wanting kids. Like,
yeah, you're bitching about X, Y, and Z, and yet you're questioning my decision not to have, or
because you're like, but it's great, like the payoff.
It's like, really? Tell
like,
me.
Are you okay? Whatever. And then two, I totally forgot. Oh, okay. Two, I think that also, it's not so much that I don't believe that women aren't happy in the beginnings of their pregnancy and stuff, but I think, I know, like for me, the things that I'm hesitant about, or the things that, like you just listed, all those things that happen, that is just not, that it doesn't sound like funsies.
It's a no for me, dog.
Yes, exactly. All those things. There has to be, I feel like I would love to see someone portrayed in a movie that's pregnant, or even in real life. Like, I would love to see people I know who want kids but are scared and don't want to poop themselves, or like, my vagina's gonna rip. Like, that doesn't sound fun, but still want the kid enough to go through it, and they're going through it. But those are questions and things that they're like, and I feel like that's what I feel like I'm missing a lot of times with this kind of stuff, is that it's just so much like, oh, I'm just so like excited to bring this life, and it's great, and I'm happy it happened. And it's like, now we know all this stuff. None of this stuff is scaring you a teeny tiny bit. Like, no, it's just okay.
Yeah. Okay. Or it scares you, but you are willing to put that aside and just willing to like go with it as it comes up. Because I don't think I've ever met someone who was pregnant who said, I'm not scared. I think I know enough people now that when they have found out that they were pregnant, whether it was on purpose or a surprise, that it was like, it's life-changing. And
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, what we're trying to get the point of across is, you know, you and I can go round robin for hours and hours about like, will we or won't we kind of thing, or our personal feelings on it. And I think you and I both know ourselves enough to know at this point what we both want. But that's the like crazy part about parenthood, is that every story is different, and that you could want something so bad and still be terrified but still be willing to go through it, or to hate every moment of it knowing that it's going to be worth it, and or loving every moment and then having the thing happen and then like postpartum hits you like crazy hard afterward. So it's every story. We're all special snowflakes when it comes to pregnancy. Everyone experiences it differently. That's the biggest lesson I've learned about growing up, and definitely watching this movie has confirmed that.
Yeah. I think you have better friends than me, because they are lying to me. Or they're just not, they don't trust me or like me enough to actually tell me like this shit isn't great, but like,
well, I'm also
I'm really excited to be a mom. Like,
I'm so curious that like whenever I get pregnant friends, or if someone like has a baby, I'm like, did you poop?
Yeah, I'm not curious. That's probably okay. It's
That's it.
It's not them.
No. All right, don't think that it's you. I mean,
I know what comes with that, so I'm just like,
it's
I'm
such a
not
personal
disappointed,
choice.
but I'm just like, things are gonna be different, and like I'm happy for you, but like I'm also gearing up to like not see you as much, or to have to like
your life changes as a person.
To start going to baby events or kid
your
events.
Goals, your whole like life's purpose changes, and you have to be prepared as a parent and then also as a friend to see like how your relationships change. And I'm certainly experiencing it with Leah, and you've been there with your sister and your friends. And
but anyways, I think we should wrap it up. I think we could talk about this all night, but it is Sunday.
We've got those Sunday blues. We know that the work week is ahead of us. So Bria, and to all of those... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Movie, snack, and cocktail. Do you have one?
I was going to say, I actually don't have one this time. I would just say, like, whatever traditional pregnancy craving snacks might be out there. Maybe some pickles, some ice cream, some chips. Like, some just good little, like, fun, snacky foods.
I'm down with that. I want a beer from the dad cooler in the van.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely also chugging that glass of wine.
You can't eat, but I also would totally eat at either of those food trucks. So.
Oh, true. No, I would eat from Anna Kendrick's, cheesy one. I would eat all of her cheesy items, but just not the pig part.
Yeah. So there we go.
There you go. That's a good one.
But
that's a good one.
Besides that, wrapping it up.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, wait, that's your thing. Wow. Okay, sorry.
I need you to switch roles again. No, let's do it. Go ahead.
No,
do it.
Okay, fine. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. And to the people who've stuck with us so far, please come back to another episode of the great value version of Inside the Actors Studio.
But seriously, if you like us enough to stick around, take another deep dive down this IMDb rabbit hole with us as we discuss Jennifer Lopez in a double feature of Ice Age. Let's hope it's better than Ants. And that was Simone's original. She fucking hates ants. So.
I have a feeling it's gonna be better, but like not quite much.
I remember liking the first Ice Age, so
I remember liking the squirrel from Ice Age, so we'll see.
You like Sid the Sloth?
Oh no, I like Sid the Sloth. He has a good voice. So okay. I feel like Bria, this is gonna be one that we're gonna have to watch together. At least one of them.
We agreed that, yeah.
Okay.
We can watch both of them together. I don't care.
Okay. And sorry, we'll discuss this in therapy next week. But on that note, if you've got nothing better to do, go figure out a theme to watch a bunch of movies you've never seen.
I'm your host, Simone. That's what it says. Nah. Oh my God, if you guys are listening to all of this, God bless you. But I'm your host, Bria, and please subscribe to this blessed mess and leave us a like if you're into it.
And I'm your host, Simone. It would be awesome if you could wipe off those little buttery popcorn fingers. Give us a review. Follow us at Roll Call Pod. That is ROLECALLPOD on Instagram, TikTok, and Bria's personal favorite, Twitter.
Oh, it's not here, but you're supposed to say.
Okay. Oh, all right. Wow. Okay, we're getting our lives together. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been another episode of Roll Call and Cut.
You took my part again. I'm leaving that in.